What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Vegvar. Alongside me, my good pal Bobby. How the heck are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Look at us, up and running, no technical issues. We're podcasting today.
We're podcasting, but the fact that we took so long to troubleshoot my potential mic issue, I mean, no one else needs to know about it. But here we are.
We're doing great. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. This is a special week. We've got two back-to-back episodes for all your ear holes. There were just so many great games coming out, so many great game updates we want to talk about. So yeah, you get two episodes this week. So consider yourselves all very lucky. This week is going to be a good one, but I want to kick it off over to you, Bobby, to start things off because right before we started recording, you said this is a Steve-ass game. This is Atomfall coming out very, very soon. I want to hear about it because this has been the game that's on my radar. I want to know what your thoughts are about Atomfall.
Yeah, of course. So I was lucky enough to preview Rebellion's Atomfall, which is, I don't want to say it's a Fallout game because that's like the first thing where everyone's going to see when they look at this game because it's got a lot of the same similarities. But honestly, no, it's like this is first off, yes, it is a Steve-ass game. It is more like Stalker or Metro, so it kind of falls in line with those kind of games more than Fallout. But yeah, I mean, the first things first. I mean, it's set in northern England. It's set, around the early 1960s. So the backstory is Rebellion wanted to do something a little bit different because they're known for sniper elite and zombie army. So what this game is, it's set in, like I said, the early 60s, but it's based on the true nuclear disaster event that happened in 1957 at the Windscale plant. And basically what that did was, when you have a nuclear meltdown, it kind of destroys the earth around there and basically it makes it inhabitable for humans.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up as an amnesiac like 5 or 6 years after this. So you're living in this quarantine zone and you just wake up. You have no memory of who you are. And basically, you're just told to, here's this picture, go into the world. And that's kind of how this game begins. We weren't told a lot more about other than that. It was just, here's your little preview of what you're going to be playing. And then they kind of let us, into this world. So, I mean, My demo was maybe about 3 or 4 hours into the campaign, but it was still fresh enough where I was like a fresh face and PC. So yeah, I mean it starts off pretty strong. So I mean you wake up, you're here, and then you're basically it's called. I gotta pull up the name of this place. So the demo that I played was in the Casterfell Woods. So I don't know if it's a real area. I was trying to look it up earlier, but anything I googled was basically Casterfell Woods, it would lead right to Atomfall. So I was like, okay, well, I don't think it's a real place, but it's in northern England.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really idyllic. So, I mean, if you've ever been to the country in England, or if you've seen like The Holiday, every girl will probably have seen that movie. But yeah, it's like those idyllic little villages. So you're wandering around these little villages that are just like on the countryside. There's little pubs. There's little shops, there's little houses, there's little farms, and you're exploring through this countryside where it's just obliterated. So it looks gorgeous, but clearly, given it's a nuclear quarantine zone, nothing is what it should be. So like there's poisonous purple bees that you have to dodge. There's feral creatures that look like vampires. There's humans called the druids, so they look like witch, like they're witchy, so they have like face paints and stuff, and they're chanting and they're stalking the area. So you're basically having to navigate all these hurdles while trying to discover what's going on in this area. Any questions you want to start with before or do you want me to continue? Because that's kind of the setup that we got. There wasn't a lot of story. What I did, it was just like we're kind of like I said, I was just dropped into this area and told to explore.
Yeah.
But like that was basically it. My demo was about 2.5 hours, but I feel like I barely covered what's in this game because it feels huge.
It does. So you're set up in this world. You get out there. Is it kind of like a more open world, kind of like Fallout, where you're seeing, enemies just kind of persist in the world and you're kind of exploring, or similar to Stalker, where you are uncovering these like little locations and you're incentivized to go exploring, and you might end up, crossing paths with
Right.
a group of bandits or something like that. Like, what's the setup of like the gameplay and exploring?
So I guess I could basically say it's the mix of both. So you do have both. So like I was the first thing that happened to me is I got into Casterfell Woods, and then there's like these abandoned ruins, like these older houses, and there are the druids there. So like I tried to sneak up on them because I was like, well, let's see what happens, and they destroyed me right away. So I was like, okay, well there's clearly wandering packs of these druids. You have to like either fight them or stay out of their sight because we were told basically ammo is very scarce in this game. You're obviously living in a quarantine zone. Everything has to be bartered, so you can be bartering with humans in the world. So you can be walking to like a small little village, like a little encampment, and you'd be bartering for ammo and guns and stuff. So you have to be doing that stuff. I had a little bit of ammo. I had a couple guns, but like getting adjusted to it just for the first hour was hard because it's just like it's a fresh game. I'm not familiar with the controls, so the first hour was just kind of me acclimating to what I was doing. But the first thing I did was, like I said, I lost to those druids. So the next thing I did is I went to the menus. I allocated some points to my melee, my health, and there's a bunch of like skills you can equip to your character. So there's like you can do sneak attacks, you can do silent footprints, you can do less stamina usage on swings because you have melee weapons.
Okay.
So what was I given? Like they're told, they're saying, check out the cricket bat. So I equipped the cricket bat, and I was basically bludgeoning all these druids to death on the way to where I was told to go. And that's the first thing I noticed is that combat's really smooth. Like it feels good. It's weighty. It's punchy. You're striking with purpose. Like you can feel the weight of that bat hit somebody, and when it connects, like they drop. So like you can knock someone out in 2 hits, and then you could just ransack what they have on their body and move on. But it's got all these things you would love. Like it's got inventory management. You can obviously carry so much. You gotta kind of have to like fine tune what you carry. You can't carry too much. I don't think you're ever overburdened, but it's more like it's kind of like I felt it looked like Resident Evil's cache where you have to kind of pick what you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Which I like.
Item management and stuff like that. Yeah. I like that.
Right. So there's that, and then there's crafting. So like you're crafting bandages, you're crafting potions, you're crafting traps. Like you can craft Molotovs, you can craft I don't know what those bombs are where it's got like the shrapnel. I think it's a shrapnel bomb, but something like that. So it's just like bits and pieces of metal you collect, and you craft bombs, and you can throw them and you can set them down. And there's all these things that you love that are familiar to you. Like you have these games, you see it in Fallout, you see it in Metro, you see it in Stalker, and it's all there. It's just it feels a lot more cohesive. I mean, I've always had issues with Fallout's controls, and there's a janky ass game. And Metro was just on the cusp of feeling really good to me. I never really felt the controls were the best. And then Stalker, I tapped out pretty early. I do like it, but it never felt really good to me. But whatever Rebellion's done, like it feels really good. This game, like it's just really smooth. It makes sense. The controls are not over cumbersome. Like it makes sense. They click, and then you're like, okay, this makes sense. Like you have your run, you have your melee, you have everything is just there. They're standard controls, but they just work well. Like they really fine tune them to the point where it's like this is what I need from a game. It's not overly cumbersome, like we're saying in Monster Hunter, where the controls just are too much. This is just really simple and it works.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious about that because it's something I like Stalker. I like the gameplay, but then it is grappling with how much emphasis there is on like the survival aspect. What's kind of that balance with Atomfall?
So there is some survival stuff to it. Like you're not, to be granted, you are living in this quarantine zone after like a post-apocalyptic event. Yeah. There is survival elements to it. It's not like you have hunger and stuff, but like you have to be mindful of your health. You have to be mindful of your surroundings. It's not to the point where you have you have all these systems working in tandem with what you're doing. So granted, my demo, like I said, it was about 2.5 hours. I didn't do a lot. I just kind of got lost in the world because that's the thing. It is a stunning world. Like I love what they've done with it. It just felt just really cohesive. well put together, and it was kind of sci-fi. It's like you do have like obviously like it is the countryside, but then you look into the vista, and there's like really cool mountains that have been kind of twisted by what happened with the nuclear event, and like you see like I said, purple poisonous bees that have developed because of this quarantine. And there's like hordes of rats you have to fight, and you have to like make sure that they're not, following you, because if you go somewhere like a maintenance shaft or you go down to like the sewage systems, like there's piles of rats you gotta fight with, and like they're not easy to deal with because they're just in packs and they're just droves and they're always biting. But yeah, no, for survival, it's not what if you're listening to this, it's not what you think. It is pretty manageable. I don't like survival. Okay. I don't like dealing with hunger, thirst. I don't like
that.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes like too much. Where it's like I can appreciate a good survival game.
Exactly.
But
I respect them. They're not for me.
I do too. And sometimes I like playing them. But when it's married with something like Stalker, where it is this open world, you're surviving. Yeah. There's a lot of like emphasis on actual combat and exploration. I feel like those two systems don't always go hand in hand, because it kind of does detract from one or the other. If you want to explore and you want to engage with combat, the last thing I want to do is make sure, do I have like a snack bar on me, or did I cook enough food before going out to this big, I don't know, compound or something. I'm taking out all these enemies. That's kind of the wall I hit with Stalker, where it was just these systems are just kind of getting in the way of me having fun. It's just a little too much. So knowing that, they kind of kept it restrained and like there's bare minimum survival aspects here, to some regard. I think I love crafting weapons. I love that of like, going through and making sure, you have enough ammunition for different weapons and stuff. I love that stuff. But it's the additive of like, now I'm not even able to run without, getting hungry in this game. That's when it stops being fun for me. So I'm really liking what I'm hearing so far about Atomfall.
So if we're talking about survival, it's not in that traditional aspect. It's more like you're this character, you kind of have a mission. So you're a detective, so you're following leads, and they're called leads in the game. So you're like, well, you'll come across like a note. It might have like a lead on it where it says, you have to go to like this mine where it might have something you need because you're looking for like someone named Oberyn. No detail on who this person was. It was in the note saying you have to find Oberyn at this place, and I go there. And then I find another note saying like you have to go to the interchange, which is, I have no idea what the interchange is in this game. So it doesn't give you the overall picture. You kind of have to put everything together. And that's when I say survival, you're a detective. You're Batman basically, because you're piecing together the puzzle of what's going on around you. So like you'll have to go to, there's like an estate in the top left corner, and it's like this nice, nice hedges, and it looks like a really nice estate you would find in the UK, right? And then you go inside, and there's this lady who looks like the queen, and she's lost her mind, and she's talking to you, and she's acting as if you're the person she's actually thinking of. Like she's delusional, and she's giving off hints of what you're doing, and you have options. So you'd be talking to her, and you have like 4 options, and one's like, the first one's like, it gives you an idea of what your answer is. So one would be like you're prying into her conversation. The next one's you're curiously prodding her. The other one's interrogating. Mm-hmm. And then the other one's angrily asking. And it's just like, it gives you options of how you want to apply to these people. So everyone you come in contact with, it's not just like an open and shut conversation. You have like 4 or 5 options of how you want to talk to them. And then that branches out into how the story is told to you. And it's a nice change up of just like an open and shut conversation. It gives you freedom to kind of create your own story, and that's cool. What I'm seeing at least. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, there was a lot to do. I just didn't really tackle it. I was more like I was wandering, like I said, this Casterfell Woods, and then I come across the iconic, that red telephone booth, and it's ringing, and it's just like it's giving me. Someone whoever picks it up is like saying, like, just be careful what you're doing here. Like, this is a very dangerous spot. But if you're going to be here, you have to go to this location and you have to meet someone there. And then that kind of, chain reaction is I went to this spot and I found 4 or 5 notes saying, well, don't go here. You should probably go here because there's something here you should probably look at first. So like it's an open hub world. I don't feel like it's going to be a true open world. So it's probably like open area hubs.
Interesting.
But they're dense. Like they're so dense. Like there's levels to it. Like there's rolling hills you can climb. There's underground areas you can find. Like I was wandering and I found this little hole that leads to an underground, like I said, sewage plant that you have to fight like these druids in, and then that leads to a maintenance shaft that goes to this other part of the map that pops up, and you're like this in this little idyllic town, and then you walk through the town and you're at the on a pier at the beachfront, and it just kind of works together. Like the world is so cohesive, it works really well. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is really cool. Like it doesn't feel overly like it doesn't like I don't feel like it's anything to just like overload your time with. Like you have there's all these things you can do. You can kind of prioritize what you want because it like I said in the menu it says, you know, here's your main story, but you have all these leads. You can pick and choose what you want to follow and how they bridge into the main story, and it's really cool.
So is it kind of like recent Assassin's Creed games where you're like trying to figure out, like when you use, I think it's like the exploration mode or whatever, where you're kind of
it's more
talking
similar
to people and it's kind of, you know, contextual, where it's like, okay, you can go over there and follow this clue to get to that clue. Oh, that's cool. Okay,
interesting. Exactly. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, it is stuff like that, and you're constantly coming into contact with things like that, and that's the cool thing about it. And then you're hunting people like these druids, and you're taking their stuff, and you're playing with all these weapons. Like in my playthrough, I came across a switchblade, came across the cricket bat, which I was given. I had a hatchet, I came across a bow and arrow, and then I had a shotgun and like a rifle. And like I had all these tools, but I had no ammo. So like I was really had to be conscious of what I was doing. So like most of the time in this area, it was just you have to be quiet, you have to sneak up on them, and then you can take them down. There is like a stealth attack. You press RB or RT. It's one of the back buttons, and it just knocks them out. But if you decide to use guns, like it alerts everybody. And if you're walking and you're running, you know, if you're just pulling down the L3 or whatever it is, it alerts everyone to what you're doing because you're making so much noise. So you have to like be considerate of stuff like that. So it's just like if you want to get through like a really tense spot, you have to crouch, you have to go slow, and you have to be stealthy, and you have to just use melee. And yeah, it's really cohesive. Everything about this game is just really up to the 10th degree. Like there was no issues, there was no bugs, there was no glitches for me. I know it's a demo, and it's like a vertical slice. But I mean, even with that, like I've had issues with other publishers where it was just really buggy. I couldn't even finish the demo, but this one was just really smooth. I did have some issues towards the end, but that was probably just my internet. But it was, other than that, it was just really smooth. Everything was gorgeous. They told us it was running on a 4070 NVIDIA card. So like what I saw, I feel it's going to look even better when it launches because like, you know, I have my Pro, but it was stunning. I love what they've done with the location. We rarely see northern London or northern England, I should say, because it's not something you ever see. And I mean, I love what they've done. And I know there's more to it, but like just this little area was just, like I said, it was really well done. It reminds me Tomb Raider 2013. Like I remember, do you remember how the worlds were set up? Like you were going to this one area and there was all these things you could do in this area and you would move on. Like Lara Croft would be able to like explore. She'd explore like the forest, and there's all these things you can accomplish in this hub.
Yep.
And they were always fun. Like you
of course.
Yeah, that's what it kind of felt like to me.
Okay.
Like I love that setup where it's not like open world. It's like the open hub format. I feel like is probably the best of all worlds these days. Like you don't feel, you know, like I said, overwhelmed by like having to deal with this.
Well, I mean, look at God of War. Look at even Avowed most recently. These like open hub areas. It works because it does give you the sense of, oh, I can go out and explore everything that I can see right here. But it does it manageable so that you can actually curate these levels to make sure that everything kind of matters, which is really cool. And I hope that Atomfall pans out the same way. Yeah, and it's shaping up to be like that. And like I did meet some really interesting characters. Like any of the voice characters are really cool. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to their names right now, but like what conversation I did have with them, they were there obviously for a reason, and they were there to tell me more about this world and what's happening and where I should go and give me the clues to move forward. And it was always fun talking to these people because, like I said, the conversations are always
different. Like I'd show up, I'd ask questions, and then I could hear someone else in like the chat room saying, "Oh, I just did it this way," and you could hear people are doing it differently and how
Oh,
it's
cool.
unfolding on their end. But it was cool. I mean, I liked hearing that, and it was like really cool. So yeah, I mean, the most shocking thing about this thing is just how soon it's launching to me. Like I was like maybe last year we learned about this game not too long ago. And like we are in this industry where they announce games 8 years before they're launching, and this one was released or revealed last year, and it's launching this month and this month, and it's incredible what Rebellion has done. I'm like really looking forward to playing this game. Like it's just something that's immediately jumped up my must plays. Like I know we have so much going on this month, but like I carving time for this game. It feels really special. I love what the studio's done. Like I do like the Sniper Elite games, so like this is a big shift from them. Like those.
Well,
games
that's what I was going to bring up. Is that not only so it comes out March 27th. But I mean, Rebellion already following up themselves because they just put out Sniper Elite Resistance earlier this year, and this is a studio that I think has put themselves in kind of a corner when it comes to these kinds of games, the Sniper Elite games, the Zombie Army games, and every so often they kind of spread their wings a little bit and kind of do something a little new, but they always come back to Sniper Elite. This one had always been, ever since the announcement, has always been a game that I was like, part of me always felt like it was too ambitious for them. So it always felt like it was too far out, where it was like, okay, maybe you guys get this, but at some point, if you guys just said it's delayed indefinitely, we couldn't get it to run, it was canceled, whatever, I wouldn't really bat an eye, just because of how different it really looks. So to really get here, be weeks away, and then hearing everything that you kind of just talked about during their demo has me very excited. Very excited.
So like normally in these events, if you're listening, you're not aware, like they have a room where you kind of just you load up and you get to see your computer, you agree, you say hello to the people there, and then they let you into like a chat room, and then they play a video for you. So the developers were on hand, and they were talking about like what inspired them to make this game. And the two things that stood out to me that they mentioned were the Wicker Man, the movie, and early Doctor Who episodes. And if you've seen any of the trailers, like there are some enemies that are straight out of Doctor Who. Like there's massive robots that would probably slot in nicely into 1960s William Hartnell Doctor Who. And there are like the pagan wicker statue. I don't know, Steve, do you remember those? The perfect way example is in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Remember that big festival you take and you have to burn that.
And it's in the middle of the little encampment. Yeah.
It's exactly that thing. Like there are trailers of that, and that is in this game. Like I saw a trailer, and like you're interacting with it. So like stuff like that is cool. And Wicker Man is I remember someone in my family introduced it to me. I just can't remember who it was, but I ended up loving it, and it was like, this is such a cool idea. And you can see all like they're wearing their inspirations like with their heart on the sleeve. Like it's all there. It's really cool. It's unlike, like I said, it's nothing like Fallen. Like I don't want to keep knocking it, but like the 60s are a really interesting time, and like they're leaning into that time period really heavily because it's in the 60s. You're having 60s music. It's a very British game, so a lot of like the stuff that's going on is tied to that place and that time period, and it's really cool just finding it because it's not familiar to me. So it's like it's exploring something that I've never had the opportunity to explore, and I know it's a fictional game, but tying it into that non-fictional nuclear issue just gives it a lot of ground to implement things that happen around that time into this game, and it's there. And I feel like the full game is going to offer like a really cool offshoot of this event, and like how it's going to tie into like potential sequels, because I feel like this game, I hope it becomes something more frequent, because it's really cool. It's scratching the Fallout itch that I haven't had in like 10 years. I didn't really enjoy Fallout 4. Fallout 76 I kind of fell off pretty quickly, but like this is scratching that itch. Like it's satisfying in all the right ways.
Cool. No, I mean, just based off what you're saying, I'm excited. And as much as I liked Fallout 76, it didn't hold me because I am looking kind of for that traditional single player Fallout experience. So if it is anywhere near that, I know that they did have some inspirations taken from New Vegas, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So yeah, March 27th, this is coming out across, PlayStation, Xbox, PC as well. So something to look forward to down the road. Not too far away though. Not too far away at all. Bobby, I do want to do a quick check-in just on our adventures with Monster Hunter Wilds. I know we talked about a previous episode. People can go check back, listen to the Split Fiction review, as well as kind of our first impressions, our first touchstone to Monster Hunter Wilds. I've been playing it a little more, still chipping away at it every night, putting in a couple hours here and there. And I do want to say that as people who might have listened to last week's episode or may not, I am not a Monster Hunter person whatsoever. And the more time I spend with Wilds, the more that I am just not enamored by the entire picture, the entire presentation there, but I'm enamored by so many different things. Like the gameplay is exceptional. I think that the rough gameplay loop of going out into the open world and hunting different monsters and going through the campaign, as there are highs and lows in the campaign, but it's all about getting you to that next tentpole, big, sprawling monster that you're fighting. And as things go on, I think that the monster designs are awesome. The attack patterns that the monsters have are really cool. And I'm really digging that base combat loop or gameplay loop as a whole of just going out, defeating a monster, going through the carcasses, getting the parts, going back to your base camp, and then upgrading or getting new pieces of armor or weapons and stuff like that. That is really growing on me, and I really do understand why people are saying that this is an easy front runner for Game of the Year. Just based on that, I'm kind of behind it. I think even at, I don't know, 15, 16 hours right now, halfway through the campaign, roughly, I do really see the potential of this being a Game of the Year contender. Even though it's still not a Steve-ass game. But I understand and I appreciate Monster Hunter way more than I've ever have in my life. So that's been really great. I still can't get over some of the core systems. I was talking to some people over on the gaming podcast who kind of echoed similar thoughts that, the game kind of just gets in the way of itself, of having that fun, of having this, the aspect that I love so much of.
It's just an over-cumbersome game.
It is.
And that's just the thing, like that, what it comes down to is that's kind of always been like the MO of Monster Hunter. It's just like there's a lot you have to just know from the offset. It's like you can't just have that for every person's not the same. Like there are people who want to play this game, but like you can't just throw them into the deep end like that. Like this is not sustainable, right? But Capcom, I feel like they've done a good job to onboard people with Wilds, right? And like it's never going to get to the point where I feel people want it to be. It's never going to be very tutorialized. They've done the best they can, and that kind of works as a double-edged knife. Right? Like you have people who really like what they've done, but then you have, like I said, the veterans who are not big fans of what's going on right now. But I feel like the trade-off is kind of fair, right? Because you're now having more people that
totally
want to play these games, right? And that is a good stepping stone to have the next game be a little bit more harder, because now you have that base who is familiar with this game and the systems, and you can be like, well, you did really good in Wild, so here's the new Monster Hunter, and we're gonna make you work for your hunts. And
a
you
little
have
more,
to this, right?
Yeah.
And I understand. I know it's not a Steve-esque game, but like you do like 3 or 4 hunts, you're like, okay, this is a lot of fun, because it is a lot of fun.
It is.
The things that they trivialized was like the secret. I love the fact that I just call it and it takes me to where I need to go.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Just, automate that entire system, because I find the map just atrocious to kind of.
The maps are difficult. You have to memorize a lot of stuff on those. Like they're hard to read, but that's how it's always been. Like, it's always been like that in these games. And it's like some people don't understand what to do, but having that bridge of like, well, if you want to do it the old way, you can do it the old way.
Exactly.
You can manually control them, but if you want to be like you or me, I prefer this way. It's just I call the secret. It takes me where I gotta go, and I prepare while I'm doing it.
And I think that's the thing I like about the game the most, is that even still,
it holds your hand, but it does it respectfully.
Exactly, where
Isn't
I
like
can
pull you
engage in the
along.
game as much as I want,
Yeah.
or I can focus on the things that I really do like, which is the combat, the gear, creating more gear, cooking, totally fine. But then there's the exploration side. Sure, I'll go out and fish for a couple times. I'll go out and do some side quests and stuff like that. But I am always on that main golden path because it is what gets me from one big monster battle to the other, epic sprawling, environments and stuff like that. And that's really what I'm there for. So I do like the fact that, yeah, you can engage in it to, from my perspective, engage into quote unquote the traditional Monster Hunter fashion, or you can do something a little more streamlined, which Wilds is providing. And I do like that autonomy, or that option there for
Yeah, like
new players or old players. It's cool.
it makes, like I said, and it comes down to just the simplest thing. It makes more people susceptible to want to play your game. Like they're like, well, I want to try this because I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about that. Everything is kind of streamlined in all the right ways, like I said, but it's that double-edged sword, and that's always what people are going to have to know about the series. It's not made for the hardcore anymore. It's a global audience these days. Like Monster Hunter, when it launched, was made for a Japanese audience, and they play their games a completely different way than you and I probably do. So it's like, now that the world is globalized, and we have to remember that, and a lot of people don't like that change, right? And I understand why, but.
And I'm also sure that when Worlds came out and that one got a bunch of buzz from, global audiences, to your point, that was like in the midst of Capcom's heyday. They just came off of Resident Evil 7, and a lot of people had their eyes turned on Capcom. A lot of people probably wanted to get into Worlds, but then, hey, it is a more advanced, more robust game with a lot of systems. Word of mouth for that game for casual audiences probably wasn't that high, even though it did sell, respectively. It got a lot of critical acclaim. I mean, we're seeing it right now with 8 million copies sold in 3 days, a few days removed from the time we're recording this, but that's a 9-day reaction, where I'm sure that they saw the reactions to Worlds, saw the reactions to what was the follow-up after that one?
Sorry, which one?
After Worlds.
There's Worlds, there's Rise.
Rise, yes, and then Wild. I'm sure that they looked at Worlds and Rise, and they were like, okay, we gotta provide an entry way just to capitalize off this buzz right now, because people are really liking Monster Hunter way more than what you were saying with a sole Japanese heavy audience. So it seemed like word of mouth has proven to be on their side. It seemed that breaking down some of the barriers really worked for this game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Looking forward to kind of hopefully wrapping up by the time I get to next week, because we do have some big games on the horizon. So I do want to clear this game out sooner than later, and still keep up with it, because I know that if I step away from this game, this is one that I feel like would be a challenge to come back.
You'll fall off of it, and rightfully so, right? I know, like it is a complicated game. I want to just talk about the quick. It's just brief. I posted an article about, like, just to do sales numbers. So
sure,
Monster Hunter World sold 5 million copies in 5 days.
Okay.
In the first 2 weeks, it rose to 6 million. I wrote, and then Monster Hunter Wild sold 8 million in 3 days. So that kind of tells you how big the series is now, right?
Yep.
That's huge. So I feel, and I believe Capcom's going to support this game really well. You're going to see a lot of hunts. You're going to see DLC. You're going to see everything, and like that, I'm enjoying it to the point where I need something to just I have like my main game, and then I have another couple games I rotate. So like I feel this is going to be one of the ones where I'm rotating, just because like I want to check out the new hunts all the time, and that's rare for me. Like I finished Monster Hunter World, and then I was done. Like I moved on. I haven't touched it in 8 years. And then Rise, same thing. But like this one, like it's fun. Like maybe it's just like we're in that hype cycle where it's just everyone's playing it, everyone's talking about it. We're seeing videos online. Yeah. But like I'm invested to the point where it's like I want to keep playing. Like, I want to finish it. I want to get to the end game, and I want to keep upgrading my gear, because I like the gear of this game.
It's nice.
I like all the armors. I want to get the armors. I want to make sure I have everything for my character by the time June hits, because I want to keep playing, because I feel by June we're gonna have Summer Game Fest. We're gonna see what Capcom's working on is gonna follow up, because Monster Hunter World's got Iceborne, they're that DLC for
That's
Monster Hunter
right.
World,
Yeah.
and that was a really cool expansion. So like I feel like we'll hear what comes next by June, and I'm like, okay, I'll be ready for when it's ready, when it's out. And like that's a first for me, right? I fall off these games pretty quickly once I'm done with them.
Cool. Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to add after the last episode?
No, I'm good. I'm enjoying it. Like honestly, I didn't have enough time because we only recorded literally 2 days ago.
I know that's the thing. Yeah.
I got like 4 hunts in. I crafted a couple more suits for my character. I got a couple more swords and shields, and that's where I kind of left it. On my PC file, I was pretty far, but like I mean, it's hard to go back and forth because like I wish there was some cross save, because I would love to be able to just move my save over. But like I've started to scratch on PlayStation, and surprisingly, not to my surprise, I should say, PS5 Pro is the best way to play it. Like it has got the best frame rate, it's got the best visuals, it runs the smoothest. So I just stuck with that, and like I'm enjoying it. I just need to hunt with some people, like friends, because like I've just been playing with strangers, and it's fine. Like obviously I have no problem with it, but like it'd be more fun to have that
Of
group
course.
who's hunting together, because like we're all we can Discord chat. Like there's no way for me to interact with people in this game except for sending like a sticker, and it's like who cares? The stickers are cool though. I do like the stickers.
They are cool. I always like seeing them pop up whenever I unlock one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to try and get some games in over the weekend, because I definitely want to play more with friends, because I think for the most part, I think I did a couple missions with some friends, and then online, just kind of random lobbies and stuff like that. I think I did that last night, but it's totally fine. And then the last game I want to talk about is a small little indie game. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it, but I think it's worth exploring only because of the concept alone. And it's a game called There's a Gun in the Office. And have you heard of this game at all, Bobby?
I have not, and I'm going to look it up.
No. So it's a small game developed by, and I want to get this right, Take It Studio, and it's described as a horror stress simulator. And the concept of the game is that you are a person, an unknown person. It's all first person, so you can, put yourself into the position of this. And you've been kidnapped by a person, and you are essentially so you're trapped in what's essentially like a high functional condo unit, and you're stuck in this room. You're stuck in, with your bed, a little desk, and everything. Some garbage cans in there to go to the bathroom in and everything. But the gameplay is that every day, this person, your kidnapper, leaves the condo, leaves the home, and you have the key to leave your room. You've somehow found it. That's the concept. So the concept is that every day this person leaves, and you have a finite amount of time each quote unquote day to explore the unit and progress, and eventually get the gun in the office and get your freedom back. But the way that the gameplay works is that, so it's first person. Every day you wake up, you kind of go to your notepad, you find out, this is my objective for quote unquote this day. And the first day is like, okay, get out of the room and find a way to get into the kitchen to get something to eat. You're very hungry. So you use the key that is in your room to unlock the door to your room and get out into the hallway. You start exploring the hallway. You end up finding the key for the kitchen. And then you end up in the kitchen. You got to rummage through the kitchen and find maybe an apple or something. Now, it sounds simple enough. The issue is that you can't let this person who comes home know that you escaped the room. So you have to make sure that everything is exactly in the same place that you left it. So you have to make sure the cupboards are closed. You have to make sure that once you leave the kitchen, you have to lock the kitchen once again, and then put that key back in its original spot. Then you have to go back into your room. And all the while you have like a little stopwatch that tells you have to be back in your room at like 4:30 p.m. or whatever. And, the hours pass roughly I don't know, every quote unquote day lasts maybe 2-3 minutes, maybe 4, if we're being generous. And then each day progresses into being a little more elaborate. So the next day you
Right.
have to explore a little more and find different things that will progressively get you to the next room, and then the next room, and then eventually you're like, oh, oh, I found some sleeping pills. I'm going to spike the water bottle that's in the captor's bedroom so they sleep, and then I have the full night to explore and hopefully get into the office and everything. All in all, like, it's a very short game. I think if you really knew what you were doing and you're not going through trial and error, you could probably beat the game in half an hour. But if you're going through your very first run and there is a little bit of trial and error, you don't
Right.
quite hit the success where you might end up turning a light on or leaving a light off. You might end up failing a level and you have to redo it. So it's the first run could take anywhere from like 2 hours if I'm being super generous with it. It's a very small game. It's a very simple game, but I do want to compliment them on the tension of it. Just knowing that, oh shit, I have to remember, like it's almost like a memory game of, okay, I picked up this key to get into that door. I have to put that back. But then also with the light on or off when I got into the bathroom, I don't even remember. Because by the end, if you get into the room and it's like, oh, I left everything disarrayed, and the captor's going to know, and then you fail the level. So knowing that, and then as well, there's going to be a time limit on there. It does get your heart beating a little bit because you'll get the notice of, oh, you got to get back to the room, and you're like, well, I have to close that cupboard. I have to remember to go over to the security panel and reset that. Man, and you're kind of going through all the steps in your head, and it does become this like panic situation just to get yourself back into safety. The other thing is that the game is really gorgeous. It's very simple. The environments are very, very pristine. Again, it's a very small game, but yeah, I just want to take a moment and just shout out the studio for making a really cool, interesting concept on like a survival simulator. Even though it's very, very morbid. Just know like you're a kidnapped victim. Again, they don't really delve into what your identity is, if you're a male, a female, a child even, but I think that kind of adds to it as well. Like to think that you're playing as maybe like a 10-year-old trying to get out of this house and trying to find a gun. I think that adds a little bit to it. But yeah, it's a super interesting game, and like it just caught me by the premise of this minimalistic, like you are just trapped in this home, you got to get out and you start interacting with everything that you really can. It's very cool, and I think in Canada it's like $12. Whether or not that's really worth it to you for the amount of playtime, but I think in terms of the
idea for the concept alone is worth it, right? So
like, the concept is really cool.
The first thing it says, I'm just looking at the page. I've been looking at it while you're talking. It's called a horror stress simulator. So, and like the trailer is pretty creepy. I heard a little bit of the music. It's pretty creepy. I do like this concept. So this alone, I'm probably like I've added it to my wish list. I'm gonna probably buy it. This looks cool. If it's like a 2-hour game, that's fine. Like Journey's a 2-hour game, and that's one of the best games I've ever played in my life. So I mean, really. It looks like there's one person that made this, and this is their first game. So kudos to them because it is gorgeous. I mean, granted, like you said, pristine environments, and it looks like it's probably just some like stock stuff. But like, who cares? It's a cool concept. Like I'm seeing, this person's looking in the cupboards. I like it. I'm probably gonna check it out. And like I've never heard of it before. I had to Google it, and like there was no search.
Nothing. I think there was like after playing it, there was maybe one review and one YouTube video for trophies and achievements that I went to just to mop some stuff up. But yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of buzz for the game, but I just want to put it on people's radar. I think it's really cool. I will say that in terms of the one thing that I wish was a little better was the movement. I think that because it's first person and you do have to pick up keys and put them into keyholes and then unlock things, it's a little cumbersome. I wish that the the first person aspect was a little more fluid. But that's a minor gripe. If again, if it was made by one person, then that's even more impressive that this game even exists. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. It played it on the ROG Ally for a night, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And yeah.
Yep, it came out February 20th, so it's pretty fresh. It's
really
like
new, yeah.
a week and a half old. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out. This looks amazing. I actually gonna probably play it tonight, maybe, because this is, like you said, I see a playback video. It's like 2 hours, so that's perfect. That's like a movie for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you put this on the map. But I mean, yeah, congrats to this developer. This looks really cool. The concept is cool. I do like
very
this.
Cool. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that is about it for us. Bobby, if people wanted to connect with you online, keep up with the website, and read more on Atomfall, where could they do so?
Yeah, you can check out consolecreatures.com, Console Creatures on Bluesky, Threads, Instagram. Check your social feeds. We're there. We're everywhere. And yeah, follow us on Discord. We have a Discord channel.
We do, yes. And as for me, you can find me across the internet at Asfigvari, and we will be back with more next week. Tons of games coming out, so we'll be talking all about them as they release. But until then, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.